Okay, this is just a brief overview of the route. You can see on the map here. Basically, I started this route from Bridge of Orchy railway station car park. Went along the West Highland Way here, following along there, passing all the West Highland Wares along the way. I turn off up this glen. Now, don't ask me to pronounce it. But it's basically the glen that runs through all the way to Loch Lyon. It's a beautiful glen. It really is. Great tracks all the way through. You pass by Ben Dorian and you kind of reach the high point up here just where the stream comes in. And you'll see that in the video. I think I stopped there and put the drone up. But the route then follows round the loch. I go around in a clockwise direction. So I go around the north shore first, and it cuts into this glen here. There's quite a big river crossing there. So just while I'm on that subject, this route has several river crossings. So if you're going to do this route, do as I generally do when I've done it. I'll wait until there's been about a week of dry weather, which in Scotland doesn't happen very often. But the last two times I've done this, the weather's been brilliant and the river crossings have been absolutely fine. If you are doing it in wet weather, then you know you're going to have to roll up your trousers and wade through on several occasions. Anyway, you go round this north side, round through this glen here. Incidentally, I haven't done it yet, but if you do go up this glen, there's some kind of weird stones that they bring out, kind of druid type stuff or from back in the days. They bring these stones out every spring and put them back. In fact, I met a couple that you'll see that photograph that were taking a stone to this site. And as I say, it's some kind of medieval or druidy connections. Anyway, along here, back along the North Shore, and it's fairly undulating, but at the end there's a bit of a sting in the tail. Now, I've got an e-bike, and yeah, I'm older, and still found this route. I'm still pretty tired at the end of these routes. If you're on a normal bike, there's quite a sting in the tail just before you get to the power station, which is basically the halfway mark, about 15 miles. So be aware of that. You know, there is a few climbs in this that still test even an old dude on an e-bike. That's where I had my sandwiches and left a pair of glasses, unfortunately, a pair of new Endura glasses there, which is a bit annoying. Then you head back along the south shore. You climb up the back of the power station, back onto the good tracks, and follow this along the south shore of Loch Lyon, back along to the meeting point. And then once you've went completely round the loch, then it's heading back down the glen and then back to Bridge of Orchy. This says 31.3 miles with 2,713 feet of ascent. I got it to 30.3 miles, I think it was. So yeah, it's a great route and one I would definitely recommend if you get the chance to do it. Okay, so this is us just starting at Bridge of Orchy railway station, as I said earlier, and just have to shove the bike up the stairs here. I'm not that good. And these stairs, then the wee path takes you up to the gate that takes you to the West Highland Way section of the route.
Morning. Hi. Hiya.
now on that West Highland Way section, and as you'll see, I'm passing people every few minutes.
Morning.
Track's really good, and as it is for this whole route, right round Loch Lyon, and you know, the weather is just fantastic.
Morning. Morning. Hiya. Hi. 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 Hiya. Hi. 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 Hiya. Hi. How you doing? Hiya. Hi. Hiya. Hi. 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 Hiya. Hi. Hiya. Good dog. Hi, how you doing? Hi there.
So we're just coming up to the bridge over the river here, and shortly after this bridge
Hi there.
is where we turn left and up that glen that I'm not going to pronounce, and that's the start basically of the route up to Loch Lyon.
Oh man, good. Some day, isn't it? Alright, cut through. Thank you. Oh, what a day to be working out here, eh?
Oh, it's darker, it's even better when the aircon on.
Aye.
Just in front of us now is the railway viaduct that we go under. Always love these viaducts, they're just so well built and still standing. I mean, I don't know how long that one's been up now, but it's been up a long time and many a train has went over it. Brilliant.
Pretty much get this place to myself. Once you come off the West Highland Way, which was like Surrey Hall Street, You come up this glen, it's just heaven. No crossings. Bit more water in it than I thought there would be. Right, I'm going to make an arse of this, I think. So far so good. Hey. One of the reasons why you got to do this after a dry period, otherwise you're going to be wading. Cross number 2. People further up. Hi there, what a day, eh? Fleet.
Another of those many river crossings over the Alt Kinglass River. And as I said earlier, that this particular route has so many river crossings. As I say, when it's as dry and beautiful as you can see here, then it's no bother whatsoever. And even this old guy can get over these streams. Much more of a problem after rain, because some of these small rivers will be a torrent. So keep that in mind, as I said earlier, when you're doing this, planning this route, to take into consideration the weather conditions in the week or weeks leading up to your planned trip.
Hi there. Hi, sorry I gave you a fright. Hiya pups.
We're now reaching the top of the glen. Just when you get to this stream, that is basically the top of the climb. As I say, an e-bike, it wasn't too much trouble. If you're on a normal bike, yeah, it would be harder. So took the opportunity to stick the drone up just to give you a kind of wider view of the glen that we've just come up. We're looking down where we've just come up. It is a gradual climb through the glen. It's not too steep. But yeah, beautiful glen, clear blue skies. Photographically, I would have liked a few fluffy clouds about to give it a bit of definition, but just these kind of days, you can't buy them. I knew with the weather that we'd had previously that I wanted to take the opportunity to get back up into these glens and round the loch again. It's a beautiful look. We're looking down towards Loch Lyon now. You can see it from this vantage point. And I'm just putting the drone a wee bit higher. We go to the left and along the north shore first. Again, just looking down the glen and looking down to where I was standing beside the river. And just brought the drone back down to where I was. So after a short stop there, it was onwards now to Loch Lyon and the start of my circuit round it. Again, just absolutely loving this beautiful weather we had, dry, dusty tracks. Yeah, can't beat it.
Look at that, Loch Lyon. Water level's pretty low, but then again it has been dry for a few weeks. The water is really low.
So in order to get round the north shore of Loch Lyon, you've got to head up a bit into Glen Moraine. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not too sure, but it reads that way anyway. And up here, a wee bit further on, up here is the main river crossing, which I still got off the bike at this point because it was a wee bit deep for the e-bike, and I used the rocks to cross over. But I would imagine that this is a torrent when the weather's bad. You know, when you've had a bit of rain, this is going to be a torrent, this particular river. So keep that in mind, as I said earlier, that doing this circuit, I think, is best done after at least, I would say, a week of dry weather. But that's only me. You might want to challenge it in other weathers, and that's up to you if you don't mind wading through the water. I stopped here for a few minutes, stuck the drone up to kind of give you a view back down the glen first of all here towards the loch. As I say, the loch turns up this glen for a wee bit and then you follow the river for a bit and you're looking back towards the loch, and we're going to go back along the sort of left hand side of this particular shot. Okay. So I met this couple. It was a father and daughter, and they were heading up to the glen just behind them there. You can see, to drop a stone that the father had carved out to place amongst it's a Celtic shrine to the goddess Cailleach. Apparently it's the only surviving shrine to this goddess, and that was on the glen behind them there. That was a stone that he had carved out, and he was leaving it. In this shrine there's like a family, there's a picture of the shrine there, and it's like a family represented by a wee set of stones that get taken out at the beginning of summer and then put back again before winter, and this is part of this kind of ritual, and apparently it still goes on today. So it's quite an interesting fact, and it was a lovely couple to meet. After meeting the couple, I headed onwards up towards the dam along the north side of the loch, stopping many times along the way and taking pictures. This next bit is fairly straightforward again, as the whole track. Again, it could be done on most bikes, gravel bikes, mountain bikes, whatever, e-bikes. Just a good track the whole way down. After a wee bit I do set the drone up and I'll give you a kind of overview.
Yep.
So again, stuck the drone up, just looking up the loch here to the dam and Loch Lyon beyond. Just stunning. There is a wee sting in the tail at the track just before you get to the dam, where it goes up fairly steeply, which is annoying because you're getting to the halfway point, you're just thinking, could do a wee easy bit here. But anyway, once you've got up that wee steep bit at the end, it's quite a quick, fast downhill to in behind the dam. And here we're just looking back the way we've came along the loch. We're going to be going up the right hand side, the left hand side, which is the southern shore, after we've been up to the dam. As I say, you turn round and then you'll be heading back along the left hand side of the loch here. But you can see just what a day it was, not a cloud in the sky. Absolutely perfect. Dry tracks, shallow river crossings. What more could you want, really? This is the steep bit just before the dam. I know it doesn't look very steep, but it has some steep sections in it, and it takes you to really high up above the dam, which does give you really good views down Loch Lyon and across to the dam, so it is worth it. After that fun descent, you'll see a gate in front of us. It's all padlocked, and the last time I lifted my rather heavy e-bike over it, but if you turn left just down this wee bit here, there's another gate and you can open that gate, but as with all these things, make sure that after you open you close the gate properly, otherwise we'll end up, that one will be chained up as well, and we don't want that. Anyway, this was me down behind the dam now, and I just made my way to the wee single track road that's here. Stopped, I think it's in that rock that you can see across the other side. Stopped there, had my lunch and left my Endura glasses there. If you're in that glen and you find a pair of Endura glasses that were brand new, I think it was only the second time I had them, they were beside that rock. So if you find them, please give me them back. Cheers. Heading up the wee single track road now to go up to the back of the dam that you should see in a couple of minutes. I just had my lunch and then headed up. There we go, there's the dam there. So I headed up to the dam, and you've got to go right behind the building that's just in the front of the dam there. And behind that you would find a way up. There's a wee track goes up the back of the dam and then up to the other side of the dam basically. You'll see as we're coming along here. This can be quite spectacular sometimes when they're letting water out of the dam. I've been up there before and it's just an absolute torrent coming out of there. Obviously with the dam water being so low as we saw, that's not happening just now. They want to keep all the water they can. As I say, just over here, I think you can, if I'd carried on in the wee single track that goes up to the left hand side near the trees there, you can get to it that way as well, but I just chose to come in here because I just wanted to come in at the back of the dam. But there is a track of sorts goes up, as we'll see in a wee minute or two, just up to the left here and up the side of the dam. It's quite steep. I'll get the e-bike, it's no bother. And that takes you up and you've just got to open a wee gate at the top, and then that's you on the other side of the dam, and I would be heading down back towards Bridge of Orchy. So here we are, southern shores of Loch Lyon, and it's good tracks the whole way along. You can see there's been either some kind of industry or farming buildings around, and there's still some at the very far end as well that are still in use. You can be sure that these areas were far more populated than they are today. There's practically no one today, but there's evidence of wee bits and pieces as we go along of life in the past, really. Anyway, heading along the southern shores back towards Bridge of Orchy, which is 15 miles still to go.
Hi there. Hi.
At this point I still hadn't realised I had lost my glasses or left my glasses back at the where I had my dinner. You would think I would have as well with the sun going straight into my face, but it took a wee while for it to dawn on me. Here we're just coming to another one of these river crossings. Dead easy today, but it could be completely different in different weather. Some of the views along this side of the shore were, well, the whole day was stunning really. What you don't see in this, although still a really long video, is all the stops I had for photos, etc. As I say, the one thing I just wish there had been a wee bit of cloud. Always looks better in the pictures. The light was really quite strong and quite harsh, but you know what, I am not complaining, because these conditions are so rare in Scotland that you get days like this, and see, when you do, you've just got to get out there and enjoy them.
You don't want to spoil your shot. You get it? Oh bother, what a day, eh? Fantastic.
Always good bumping into other people there. I think they were just taking a shot of each other crossing that wee stream. Yeah, it's great seeing other people enjoying the weather that I was enjoying. And I met quite a few along the way. I'm saying quite a few. It was one or two along this part of the loch. As I say, just brilliant seeing other people out, just loving the weather.
a permanent member as well.
Yeah, just wimping out a wee bit here. It probably would have been alright. There was a few kind of bigger rocks and I thought, you know, I'll end up at one of them getting stuck in the middle, so wimped out. We're starting to turn away from the loch a wee bit here, up, I think it's a vine glass, probably pronouncing it wrong, you know, it's supposed to be Scottish, but when it comes to kind of Gaelic, I have no chance. There's a kind of farm building here, and it's just beyond this that you cross the river. So there's obviously still a bit of farming going on. It'll just be sheep farming, obviously. That's about the only thing you see here. Hence, no new trees. That's why we've got almost desert-like conditions in parts of Scotland. They're either getting munched by the sheep or the deer, both of which man has put in unnatural numbers in these areas, and the forest just can't survive. The only way is for them to put up deer fences, keep the sheep, keep the deer out, and then eventually the forest can, as we've seen in other areas of Scotland, it can regenerate. But boy, it's going to take a lot of time, and well, I'm not going to see it. Although, to be honest, you can see it in some glens of Scotland that have been on the go for quite a while. There's the sheep running about. A wee bit further on in this, the smell was unbelievable, but it was some poor sheep that had met its end, and I could smell it from hundreds of yards away. However, we crossed the river a wee bit, just down here actually. Again, it's another one of those rivers you would have real bother in bad weather. Again, another reason to choose dry weather conditions, especially if you've had a good few days of it. But I'm pretty sure I managed over this one, and we'll find out, shall we? Yeah, that one was doable. So straight through that, not too much bother, and this was us, the turning point basically, as you were turned away from the loch, you're now turning back towards the loch, and it's the last wee bit of the loch before you head up and over back towards Bridge of Orchy. So we're coming to the point now where we'll have done the full circuit of the loch. Just round this wee bend here. That's us meeting where we first started the circuit. So we're now heading up the glen back to, if you remember where I stopped at that water course, or that burn. So we're heading back up to that, and then it's pretty much downhill all the way after that. And that's the fun part of the ride, albeit it's pretty tired by that point. But that comes with the territory of being my age. Well, this is us at the top, and now it's just pretty much downhill all the way, well, all the way at least until we hit the West Highland Way again. But this is a really fun descent, and what has been just an outstanding day. Loved every minute of it. Can't recommend this route a mile enough, to be honest. So if you've got a mountain bike or a gravel bike, because it's absolutely perfect for gravel bikes as well, and you're aware of the river crossings, I mean, if you were there after rain, you know, just take, I don't know, some shoes that you can put on and then just wade through. Oh yeah, this is me. I'm passing this lady here that was out with her dogs. I think I must have spooked her about 3 or 4 times during that day.
Sorry.
She'd obviously been up in the hills and enjoyed a good day in the hills. Anyway, onwards and downwards.
Hiya. How you doing?
We're now almost at the end of the track before it hits the West Highland Way, and you can see once again the train viaduct in front of us, just going down through some small trees. It's just nice to see a few trees again. Much as I like the open spaces, I do like at least some trees about, and maybe a century or more from now there'll be more of them. Don't want them so that we can't see the hills, you know, but I don't mind some natural trees, you know, none of the thick plantations. Anyway, just coming down to the viaduct, and it's only a wee bit after that there's some buildings and a few kind of looks like holiday cottages you'll see just a wee bit further down. But after that we turn on to the West Highland Way, and still passing some West Highland Wayers on the way back, who no doubt have had a fantastic day. I mean, if you're ever going to do the West Highland Way, then this is the way that we do it in. Pre-midgy, no clegs, very few flies about, just passing the guy there as well that I'd went under the crane earlier that day, gave us a wave. He's still working, putting in a good shift. I can't remember what these buildings are at the bottom, but we'll just go over this wee ford, past these buildings, and then down onto the West Highland Way. Yeah, these are these holiday cottages just off to the left there. Not sure if there's anybody staying at them at this point, but I'm sure maybe they'll come into play in the holiday months, which will just start very, very shortly. As I say, we come down here to the bridge, and that's us just joining the West Highland Way. At this point, many of you that have done the West Highland Way will know this spot. Stunning wee bit. Imagine just staying in that cottage there. Brilliant. So straightforward now along the West Highland Way. Still a few stragglers on. I think it might be about the back of 5 at this point. Still a few folk just still walking in, maybe after a long day. I usually have a wee joke and say I'll give them a lift, etc. on the way. Yeah, remember doing this many, many years ago.
I'll pass you there. Thanks guys. Taxi for Smith? No. Sorry. Ah, yeah. Ooh. Oh, what a day, yeah.
Oh, beautiful day.
Oh, it's been amazing for a couple of weeks now, isn't it?
Oh, we've been so lucky.
And that was it. Back down the stairs, under the tunnel, and back to the van. What a fantastic day. So what follows now is a whole pile of photographs, firstly from the drone, and then a few stills from my other camera, my main camera. So thanks very much for watching. If you've got to the end of this, which is another mammoth, long video, then you've done amazing. But I hope you enjoyed just getting a wee insight into what is up round in that route. You know, start from Bridge of Orchy or start, you know, from wherever you like. But it's a great circuit round Loch Lyon. Great having the drone as well, just to get you those kind of higher views, the wider views if you like. And yeah, just a thoroughly brilliant day. I've done it a few times now, and each time I've absolutely loved it. The e-bike that I've got is just perfect for this kind of stuff, especially for this old guy. I'm sure I would have done it no bother. And my old bike back in the day, in fact we started, there was no suspension, no nothing. The first mountain bikes, all they had was kind of chunkier tyres, and we did many things. We did Ben Lomond, we did Cairngorm, we did loads and loads of tracks, but this wasn't one of the circuits I knew about at the time, or certainly it wasn't on my radar at the time, but it's a circuit I'll do again and again, especially in dry weather. So once again, thanks very much for watching. Give yourself a medal for getting to the end of this. If you fell asleep, well, that's its other function as well. It has been known to put many a person to sleep. But I've loved it. I love meeting the people along the way, like you see in the picture there, and just sharing experiences with these people when you meet them, and knowing that they've getting the same out of the day as you have. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one, maybe. Yeah? Bye.